Welcome to Let's Face the Facts, the rewatch podcast for the classic sitcom, The Facts of Life. Join us each week as we synopsize, analyze, criticize, and ultimately idolize the show. And now, here's your host of Let's Face the Facts, the wonderful David Almeida.
Welcome back. It's another week, another show. Thank you for downloading and pressing play. We are already connected via the Zoom call. I am here. Matthew is here. Hi, Matthew.
Hi, David.
And Matthew, we are joined by the guy who always has to be here when we do a TV movie pertaining to the facts of life. It's Paul Padilla.
Hello, everybody.
He's back. You were here very recently. People should still remember the dulcet tones of your voice.
Yeah, I don't even remember when that was, but it wasn't too long ago.
227 episodes.
Yay, congratulations.
And this is number 228. I am blown away. And we are here to discuss the amazing television cinematic masterpiece that is The Facts of Life Reunion. Oh, I have been looking forward to this so much. I cannot wait to start really digging in and talking about this. But we can't yet. No.
Damn it.
This is my show. We got some housekeeping. Matthew, chill. We have some housekeeping to take care of. Last week, my rant about where the fuck was Natalie. Do you notice I put her into the picture that I posted on the social medias and stuff? I took and I actually photoshopped her in on the phone as she was on the episode. Well, two people responded to that. Both of them tutti fruities. Michael B. commented on the Patreon that he says, if I remember correctly, Mindy was basically a roadie for her friend Belinda Carlisle on tour in 1988. Did James say that on the show? He might have known that. And remember, she did have a picture of Belinda Carlisle in Natalie's bedroom. You know, that was totally Mindy that made that happen. But then just today, Amy W. commented on Facebook, and I'm reading this. These are her words here. I was shocked when Natalie wasn't in the last episode. I sought out podcasts with Mindy and learned it was because she had the opportunity to go on tour with Belinda Carlisle and In Excess. And the studio let her. Pretty cool. There's a bunch of podcast interviews out there that are good. If you want to hear about her skipping the finale, check out Growing Up Beverly Hills, which I guess is the name of a podcast. And at the 39-minute, 55-second mark, and she discusses it there, and the podcast was from 2021.
Oh my God, Amy, thank you for doing that work, because I've got like a 5-minute drive to work now. So I needed to know, otherwise it would have taken me 3 weeks to get to 39 minutes.
39 and
Let's talk about some facts regarding The Facts of Life Reunion, which broadcast on November 18th of 2001. This is not included in the DVD box set. And Matthew, remind me, didn't you tell me that the other two movies are also not on the box set that you have?
Australia, I think, is missing from the box set that I have, David, because I remember I had to watch it on Pluto or something.
That's right. Now it's coming back to me. Yeah, it's weird because the box set looks identical to the one that I have. Mine is quite a bit older by several years. Mm-hmm. And for some reason, they stopped including that. The rights on it must have lapsed or something like that. But yes. Anyhow.
David's box is much older than mine, ladies and gentlemen. I believe he said lapsed.
Ooh. Oh, is that another word you hate, like puberty?
No, it's just the idea of your lapsed box, David. It's the dinner hour.
Oh, I just walked right into that.
I've told this story before on the podcast, and I'll tell it again, though, just because we're talking about this particular show. I was living in New York City at the time of 9/11. This happened the same year as 9/11. And I had just, got my first TheaterWorks tour. I was getting my equity card. I was very excited about it out of New York. And we started rehearsals on September 17th of 2004.
Oy.
So very, very shortly, less than a week after everything happened. And when I got there, I met one of the actors. His name was John, and his father had died in the trade centers. But his mom wanted him to continue with the rehearsals and to preoccupy his mind. And we became very good friends and became roommates on tour. So it was very interesting to be with someone during that time. On the road and seeing the country during the holidays. And we became very close. When I knew that this was happening, we were somewhere in the country. And I looked at how many hours it would take us to get from where we were going to where we were going to be for us to see this reunion movie. And so I was like, we needed to get there. And so he took it upon himself to go and talk to every cast member in tech and ask them if they would forego their equity breaks or whatever to just drive straight through so that I could see the Facts of Life reunion movie. And I remember being in this hotel, and it was one of those old cool hotels with the indoor swimming pools and golf courses.
Oh, wow.
And so we got there in time, and I sat there and I watched it, and I just remember the phone ringing many times in our room when it was over, of all the cast members going, "That's what we gave up our breaks for." Like, they all watched it. I was like, I didn't mean you guys to watch it. Go to the pool. But they were like, that's what we have our lunch breaks for. I was like, sorry, guys. But I thought that was very sweet that this guy did that for me, because it was a tough time for everybody.
Yeah, and he knew how much this meant to you.
That was a good memory.
And that brings up the point that they did start filming on September 10th of 2001. So World Trade Center stuff was happening while they were trying to be happy and and we're all back together again.
I had no idea it was so that soon to.
That's a fast turnaround too. I'm like, Jesus. Mm-hmm. You hear about it's like, well, the latest Marvel movie wrapped, and when's it coming out? 2029.
Right.
It's like, Jesus. Granted, there wasn't as much post-production happening here, but yeah. So more of the facts. To finish my previous one, it is on YouTube. Hoorah, hooray. I wonder if it has to do with the fact that they use pop music in it, and they are the original versions of the pop music. We have the Village People's Macho Man, we have the Pointer Sisters Jump, and we have Devo's Whip It. And, it's expensive AF to secure the rights for that stuff.
And do we ever have Whip It? Oh, do we ever?
It's the best. It is joyful. Whip It is the finale. But, we have so many miles to go before we get there. Anyhow, watch it on YouTube while it's still there. That's where it's been for a while. Hallelujah. Thank you for existing, YouTube. And a couple of different users, I think, have posted it. So next fact, it ran on a Sunday night, and it was on ABC, not NBC. And it was run as an episode of The Wonderful World of Disney. That completely baffles me.
Why?
Because of the idea of who produces what, who owns the property, and how networks are with what they own. Mm-hmm. It just, to me, is like, what would make Disney, the people who do The Wonderful World of Disney, say, let's do a Facts of Life reunion movie, without saying, well, that's an NBC property. It's a Norman Lear. Norman Lear never had a affiliation with ABC. And this is that Hollywood thing that I just don't understand. It's like billing. It's like, why is this actor above the other actor? Who is a producer and who's a supervising producer and who's an executive producer? I don't understand how all of this came to be, but I am so happy that it did. I'm glad.
Okay. Well, I won't, since you've got a fucking War and Peace over there in notes, I won't go in to explain how that happened. So no, we are not going to be here we're not going to be here for fucking 3 hours, David.
Yes, we are. I'll edit it, but we're going to be here for 3 hours.
No, I can't be. I will be on the floor. Go.
Wow. Okay. Well, your insomnia is about to come to an end, dear. Maybe in the middle of this. More facts. This is, for all intents and purposes, a Thanksgiving movie. It didn't even occur to me that it was attached to a holiday. I love that it's a Thanksgiving movie and that they didn't make it Christmas or... Because there aren't that many Thanksgiving things out there, are there?
Not really. There are a couple of movies. Home for the Holidays. Jodie Foster directed that. I always liked that one.
Yeah.
You know.
Not a lot of them. Yeah. Nancy McKeon does not appear in the film other than in the still photo that Mrs. Garrett shows the cruise ship captain at the very, very beginning. She is mentioned and certainly kept quite alive through it, but it is pretty tragical that we didn't get her, that they couldn't have worked out the scheduling somehow or put it off till the next year or whatever. But she was already committed to her TV show, and we're going to talk about that because they do give us a little wink to that when we first meet Joe's daughter and Rick shows up with the kid. However, there is no mention made whatsoever of Beverly Ann, Andy, or Pippa. They do mention George in passing, and they joke about him going off to Hollywood to seek his fame and fortune, as though George Burnett and George Clooney are suddenly the same person.
I missed that completely.
Oh yeah, it's in there. I'll have to look down in basically the transcript I made of every single moment and every single word spoken in the entire thing, which is what my notes are. I do have to admit, even though I think what a shame, they could have mentioned the others, but they also, had they included them, we would have been in a situation where there were too many characters. And you could kind of argue there was maybe a little too much going on anyway, as it was. But at least make a mention. They could have said something. And I do have a little fix coming up where I could have fixed one of those things. So, next fact. This is 13 years after the original series went off the air. So you know what that means? We need to review the ages of all the characters.
Oh, I was hoping that once they became women of a certain age, David, we wouldn't be so ageist. But okay, go ahead.
Nope, this isn't being ageist. This is being obsessivist. Charlotte Rae is 75.
And every goddamn day of it.
Lisa Whelchel is 38, which would make Blair 37. Nancy McKeon would be 35, and Joe would be 37 if we saw them. Same age as Blair. Mindy Cohn was 35. I'm going to say that again. Mindy Cohn was 35. Natalie would be, therefore, 34. Kim Fields is 32. Tootie is 33. And Tootie's daughter, Tisha, is 10. Joe's daughter, Jamie, is 12. Thank God they named their children with the same starting consonant. So we know Tootie, Tisha, Joe, Jamie. Thank God. So, yeah, that's where the ages are, in case anyone is wondering. This entire movie was filmed in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. That's why literally the entire supporting cast of actors who are not the original Facts of Life cast, they are all Canadian actors, every single one of them. Probably the only thing of note is that we don't have Scott Bryce as Rick. We have Canadian actor Carl Marat taking his place. That's because at this point, Scott Bryce has returned to As the World Turns, which we know is the show the girls saw him initially on, which made Nancy McKeon say, I want that guy to be Joe's husband. So you want to know how it did in the ratings?
Yes.
It had 11.5 million viewers.
And we were three of them.
Yes, absolutely. It had a 7.1 rating and 11 share. Don't know what any of those mean. And it was ranked number 51 for the season out of about 123 shows. So it did very well.
Well,
I made my parents record it in Texas just in case I didn't get to see it, you know.
Oh, so nice.
Then, of course, you know, when I called my dad after. I was like, "Hey, Dad, did it record?" And he was like, "Yeah, I recorded. We watched it." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And he was just like, "Wasn't very good, was it?" My parents said that. I was like, "Well, I mean, Dad, what are you gonna do?" But
Wow.
they knew how much I watched it, as a kid. But as a kid, whatever. I
Mhm.
still watch it. But yeah, that was a review from Mary and Raul Padilla.
And their opinion matters. Okay, guys, I want to talk about the show, and I'm caught in the weeds here. So, what else was on that night on television, Sunday, November 18th of 2001? Well, ABC. This was on from 7 to 9. 9 to 10 was Alias, and 10 to 11 was The Practice. Wow. Blast from the past. Good God.
Great shows.
Yeah. On CBS, it was 60 Minutes. And then 8 to 9 was a show called Education of Max Bickford, which was a one-season drama, took place at a college, and it starred Richard Dreyfuss and Marcia Gay Harden. So didn't go that far. And then from 9 to 11 was a Hallmark Hall of Fame movie called In Love and War. On Fox, we had NFL football, Simpsons, Malcolm in the Middle, and The X-Files. That's right. The X-Files dominated Sundays, man. That was some appointment television in our house back then. And lastly, NBC had Dateline NBC, and then it had The Weakest Link. Remember when The Weakest Link was on in prime time?
The Weakest Link.
It was like ABC somehow struck gold with Who Wants to Be a Millionaire in 1998. And NBC was like, we found a different game show, also a British show that we've adapted. People love it. Put it on prime time, because game shows can be on prime time now, and they're cheap to produce. So, yeah, The Weakest Link. I thought that woman was a fucking cunt bag. Why do people tune in to watch a person
treat someone shittily?
That would be called the news, but yeah, every day. But yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it's
What was her name? Anne something?
Ryan King. But that's why people watch Judge Judy. I don't want to watch this mean old woman just be mean to people.
No.
I've never watched Judge Judy, not one episode. Yeah.
No.
Anyway.
And I agree with you. And the same thing goes for Hell's Kitchen and that stuff. Watching the fucking asshole chef have a meltdown and screaming and yelling at me, I'd be like,
Yeah,
I'd be walking out of there.
Yeah.
It's like, absolutely, this is rewarding people for bad behavior. You can always be gracious, period. I don't give a shit that a camera is pointed at you. Anyway, end of rant.
Ugh.
And after The Weakest Link was Law and Order: Criminal Intent. So definitely there was nothing. It was awesome that I could have watched this. I probably did watch this and then went and watched X-Files afterwards. So that's a good thing.
Nerd.
Why I oughta. And then moving on to nuts and bolts. Again, I want to move quickly through this. Good God, I bore myself. A strange fact listed on the Wikipedia page about this movie. It says, quote, the original writers from The Facts of Life were said to either not care, weren't around, or didn't want to be a part of it. So the script was written by Max Ensko and Annie DeYoung with an assist by Kevin Hench and Heather Jorgensen. And that's it. There's no source cited as to what that is. That's such a general statement of, no one gave a fuck about this. So they handed it off to these other writers. Now, I don't know who this Kevin Hench and Heather Jorgensen are. They're not credited anywhere, at least not as writers. They might be story editors, or I don't even know what they call them in a TV movie. But anyway, the movie was directed by Charles Herman Wormfeld. That's a mouthful. He's directed some big screen movies like Kissing Jessica Stein that same year in 2001. And he directed Legally Blonde 2, Red, White, and Blonde. So most recently, Mr. Herman Wormfeld directed 6 episodes of a series called Rage Room in 2018. So he's still out there. He's still directing. So the story is by 3 people and the teleplay is by 2 of those 3 people. So story only credit goes to Deborah Dean Davis. And she has written for TV, The Incredible Hulk, Fantasy Island, The Fall Guy. She wrote the first 13 episodes of Knight Rider. Also Magnum P.I., Star Trek The Next Generation, and It Takes Two, which according to her IMDb says it is the most popular of all the Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen movies. What's so funny, Matthew?
Bless her heart. You know, I wrote for Mary-Kate and Ashley. Yeah. Mhm.
As a former video store employee, I can say that was one of the more popular ones that people.
Mhm. Who knew? So then, story and teleplay were written by Max Ensko and Annie DeYoung. They are clearly writing partners. Their IMDb's are almost identical. He's got like 12 credits and she's got 15 between 1999 and 2014. The only thing I recognize is the 1999 TV series of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, based on the big screen movie. And then there's also a Matthew Perry movie called The Ron Clark Story from 2006 that they wrote about a small town teacher relocating to one of the toughest classrooms in the country. So I will cap this off by saying all three of these writers, Deborah Dean Davis, Max Ensko, and Annie DeYoung, not a one of them has a Wikipedia page.
God.
They are only on IMDb.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah. But you're like, so they went to Dick Clare and Jenna McMahon? Did they go to Linda Marsh and Margie Peters and say, do you want to take a swipe at this? And they were just like, fuck you. You just got to wonder. It is interesting that nobody from the original.
Well, maybe Amy will find another podcast about it because I like her style.
Amy?
Like, she's one of those people that like helps you find the jackass in the TikTok video. Like, she's a Murder, She Wrote level. I like her. Are we ready to talk about this? Because
we are ready, and I'm at the point where I am like, guys, let's just throw some shit at the wall and see where it lands.
Okay, good.
Go.
I'm gonna start. You're welcome. I'm gonna start off by saying I did not hate this. However, the facts of life reunion. Give me something. They could have made this a yearly thing if they'd hit that Thanksgiving thing a little bit harder, because I forgot several times that it was Thanksgiving during this thing.
Mm-hmm.
It could have been called The Facts of Life and Eastland Thanksgiving, or a Facts of Life Thanksgiving. It could have been a yearly thing if they had hit that. I'm just going to say.
Yeah.
And it should have just been the first third. And the reunion shows do this all the time. They give us something that has nothing to do with the source material. We got to put them in a new situation. We don't need a new situation. The situation is our friends are getting back together. That's your situation. And how they get back together. The first 30 minutes should have been of them being them, Blair in New York trying to get to Eastland, and Natalie in New York trying to get to Eastland, and Tootie in LA trying to get to, and being Tootie trying to get through, like roller skating through it. Anyway, point of the story is they get to the house, they get to Eastland, and the rest of the thing is, oh, Blair owns the hotel, but we're sold out, and I got to put us all in the same room, just like when we were in Eastland.
Oh, nice.
And they deal with their current situations, whatever they are. We don't need to meet anybody. We deal with my current situation. Natalie, what's going on with you? Oh, I'm dating two guys. Well, you've always been a heartbreaker. Clips of Natalie hitting on guys and it going terribly. And you know what I mean? And clips.
Oh, you wanted a clip show movie?
Yes.
Then. Oh, okay.
Get me in
I
the
didn't
feels.
get that.
Get me in the feels. Remind me how amazing these women look now, considering that I haven't seen them in my living room for 13 years. I wanted it to hit me in the feels a little bit more. Mrs. Garrett is in it, for God's sake.
Thank you.
So I just needed it to hit me in the feels.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, I'm shutting up.
No. Well, Paul, what are your general thoughts about the movie?
I didn't think it was great. I expected a lot more, and, sure, it was nice to see everybody. I could do without all the extra people. Like Matthew was saying, I didn't need to see the kids. I didn't need to see the kids go off and do their thing. I didn't care about the kids. I mean, yeah, hey, it was nice to see Raymond for a second, but that was kind of ridiculous. I wasn't blown away by it. And every time I watch it, as I get older, I'm like, oh God, yeah, for me, I was disappointed. I felt like, I mean, I don't know when you want to talk about this or not, but I felt like there was 5 different styles of acting going on. And, the director, like some people were kind of playing it in reality sometimes, and then other things were completely over the top and farcical, and there wasn't a common thread. I feel like it was all over the place. But, I still, of course, I was excited by it, and of course I ran to watch it. And but
now maybe it's because, say that again.
I mean, every once in a while, I still watch it. Obviously, you said, "Hey, you said like we're doing this. You need to watch it," and I'm like, "Oh, I think I watched it like 3 weeks ago." It was on YouTube. I was looking for interviews and stuff, and then then it started, and I'm like, "Well, I'll watch 10 minutes," and then there I am at that Thanksgiving table.
Well, I'm gonna say, as we start, Matthew and I talked about this last week. It was in the extras, I think, so only the Patreon people heard it, but we talked about the fact that we had already watched it before we recorded last week's show. And we were both like, we are not as mad at this as we thought we were going to be.
No.
And maybe it's because I watched it in smaller chunks. I watched it while I was on the elliptical at the gym, so I didn't watch it straight through. I got to say, it went down much smoother than I expected it to. And some initial thoughts that come to mind. I'm going to make some generalities here. First, this cannot feel like the show we grew up with. It is impossible. Just like we talked about in Facts of Life Goes to Paris, Facts of Life Down Under. When you take the format of a show and suddenly change it, now we're in a single camera, we're with naturalistic lighting, we're not in a studio with an audience. It is literally impossible for this to make us feel like we're experiencing something similar. Now, that's not for lack of trying. We do get these, like you said, Paul, we get these farcical moments, we get these slapstick moments, and they actually punctuate them with fast motion, with sound effects.
Different camera styles all over the place in this. Like, you don't know what they're deciding what they want to do with their camera.
Yeah. Well, they're trying to telegraph to the audience what a laugh track or a live audience would already be doing, to say, this is a funny moment. And so that's what I think is going on there. So I had to watch it with those eyes, like, I just need to be happy to be with these characters and learn what it has been going on since we haven't seen them. And words I never thought I would say about this movie. I think it has aged well. And here's why I say that. In 2001, we didn't have the Lifetime made-for-TV holiday movie. We didn't have the Hallmark romantical movie channel. We didn't have those type of low-budget, schlocky holiday movies. They were not ubiquitous like they are today. Like didn't they put out like 50 of them last year alone?
Oh, more than, I mean,
like it was
tons. They have their own channels now, and
yeah.
And back then,
it is an insane.
They were special back then. I mean, that's I mean, you're like, oh, there's a Christmas movie on tonight.
Yeah, I've got to say, while I was watching this, it made me think of You Light Up My Christmas, the Kim Fields Christmas movie that allegedly had the Facts of Life reunion of the cast in it. And I thought to myself, this feels like one of those kind of movies. And this exists in a time when those movies weren't out there so much. We weren't used to it. When you tune into one of those movies, you know what you're getting. You know the meal you're sitting down for, you know what's going to be served to you. And I think this plays like one of those movies. And when you approach it that way, it sits nicely among the things. Like this could have just been called a Peekskill Thanksgiving. And it could have just been these 3 girls who went to school together and their den mother all reunite. So that's my spin on it, where I was like, I am not mad at this, because even though it is not like The Facts of Life, which would have been lovely and comforting, it at least is like this other thing that is familiar to me. So that's my broad assessment of it. And if you ever thought, I imagine I'd hear myself say, this TV movie based on a TV show has aged well.
Well, it's probably better than the 85 that, or 185 that come out every year. I mean, they just crank those out, and
Yeah.
they don't even try to change the storyline. Busy corporate girl comes back to her hometown. She gets stuck, falls in love with the guy at the Christmas tree farm that she used to know in high school. And then she thought he was a jerk, but then she finds out he lost his wife, and then they get it's just they don't even try anymore. They're all that same thing. So this was at least different. I'll give you that.
Yep. So true. And another thing I think that helps the thing of it aging well is that they were all dressed a little more classically. The fashion of 2001, it wasn't too crazy 90s with the big oversized things in the shoulder pads. The only thing I'm going to say fashion-wise, and I hate this is looksist, this is me being a bitchy queen, I do not like Mindy Cohn's hair. I think that is the only part of it that looks like a trend of its time. And sadly, in hindsight, I made a deal before of saying that that Mindy Cohn is only 35. I think that hair makes her look like she's 45.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
I remember thinking she looked older, than the others. And yeah, and even watching it recently, it's like, yeah, it just looks a little disheveled, it just looks a little, I don't know. But, look at me, I have no hair. So who am I to talk?
Well, and it's just a little matronly. It was one of those where young models, skinny models on the runway could wear hair like that and it looked perfectly fine, but it wasn't a one size fits all thing. And I want Mindy Cohn to always have the ringlets of red hair with the wide, soft curls that she had in season 8 of The Facts of Life. That's how I think she looks best.
You didn't want her in her little pigtails?
No, not the little braids.
Okay.
Yeah. Though I do like the short purple hair she had like 10 years ago. That's the picture on her IMDb page. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, I like that.
Well, boys, I'm ready to start talking about the plot, and I am terrified to jump in too deeply here, particularly because the first 20 minutes is just all exposition and catching up, and there's so much going on. So, Paul Padilla, you know what's coming next. This is the point where I am going to ask you to provide a 1 to 2 sentence synopsis of this 90-minute TV movie. And I know you are going to freak out and say you are not prepared and be very mad at me.
Well, normally, I finally figured it out. We're finally at the last podcast I finally remembered to figure it out and to think about it a little bit before so I wouldn't freak out. And I have to say, I'm a little proud of this one.
You're
okay?
prepared?
I'm prepared.
Oh my God.
And I'm proud of this one. It's not great, but it's better than I thought it would be for a TV guide. Ready?
Yes.
Okay. So it's going to say what? It would say the Facts of Life reunion movie, right?
Yeah.
So then under that, it would say, the girls are back in town. Taking the good with the bad, a Peekskill Thanksgiving reunion brings back familiar faces and hilarity to Eastland.
Okay.
I'm proud of myself for that one.
There you go.
Other ones were kind of like, oh, they're Tootie's mad.
You know what I mean? I put that in the advertisement, the full page ad that they took out.
I was very proud of that.
That's some good marketing. Yes.
I'm glad I remembered. Otherwise, it would have sucked. Everybody's so good. Most of the people you talk to are like improv actors and things, so they're always just like spot on with it. And I'm like, what? Yeah, no.
Well, thank you for preparing that. Excellent.
No, it's been a good run.
Okay. All right, guys. So let's try to start getting into this, and I will try to be as brief as I can. I have so many nitpicks. All right.
No.
The first scene that we have is on a cruise ship, and this is where we meet Mrs. Garrett. She is dressed in garb that looks like it comes from the country of India. She's definitely not dressed in her normal Dorothy Michaels blouse and A-line skirt. And we learn that she has been traveling the world. She's now a widow, that Bruce, her husband, passed away. They didn't say how long they were married or how recently he died, do they?
I don't think so.
So, but she does fill in the gap that after the Peace Corps in Senegal, we never actually said where in Africa she was, but she says after they finished their Peace Corps commitment, as it were, she and Bruce traveled to Africa, Asia, and India. After he passed, she felt lost. Bruce was her home. And then she got a message from her girls. And I remembered where home was. I get to do my Mrs. Garrett voice again. Woohoo!
Has she mentioned the Palm Pilot yet? Or have we got to...
Yes, I haven't mentioned it. I think we already passed it. But yes, she does mention that her Palm Pilot is vibrating. And it was an email from her son.
But even the way she says Palm Pilot, like she doesn't really even know what it is. You know that she's kind of like, she put so much emphasis on it. My Palm Pilot. You're like,
Yeah.
what? Yeah, you just say Palm Pilot, you know. But
we want to talk about more of the 2001 tech that goes through this whole thing. We want to do a little sidebar here.
I want to know how in 2001 she had Wi-Fi and was getting emails on a boat.
Yeah, that's a good question. Why average Joe would have had a Palm Pilot, maybe it would have been connected to, I mean, they had cell phones, so your Palm Pilot could get text stuff from a cell service. I mean, it certainly wasn't smartphone days. Those were still, 6-7 years away. But the other use of the tech of the time, I think this is a show Bible bad thing. And, I'm going to have show Bible good, show Bible bad moments. The show Bible bad is that we have Mrs. Garrett talking about her Palm Pilot. She mentions that she is occupying Harper later by letting him play a game on her laptop. When she first sees Tisha, Tootie's daughter, she says, "You're even prettier than you look in your JPEG file." What?
wow.
Was it kind of smart though? Like my mom still calls it the Facebook. You know what I mean? Like, was it kind of?
But she actually was using it. And at one point on the laptop, she says, "I'm trying to find a recipe for yams," or like she's doing research online because the internet did exist. You could do that. That was around in 2001. It's just, Wi-Fi was not a big thing. You had to connect it to a modem. But I think they're trying to make it that Mrs. Garrett, she may be an old broad, but she's tech savvy. And I'm not sure that really jibes with the Edna Garrett that we knew.
But David, if you remember the episode of the year 2000, she had a worldwide advice line.
Oh my God. Matthew, you are amazing.
She had a robot running Edna's edibles.
She did.
And advice.
But I mean, of all the different careers she's had, database administrator was not one of them that I can recall. Who knows? But I'm just saying that was weird. I get that there is some fun in the idea of the old person being tech savvy and stuff, but it didn't really buy them much. So just throwing that out there. But anyway, seeing Mrs. Garrett again, she's got her red hair, but it's curly and shorter than we've ever seen it. And she is just, she's just precious. She's just like a little statue you just want to put on the shelf. She's freaking adorable. And it's so nice to see her again. So the only other thing with her introduction is that the captain of the ship starts telling her that the past 10 days have been the most incredible. You have changed my life. And it almost sounds like he's going to propose marriage or something. And he asks her if she would go on another cruise with him. And she's like, "Yeah, sure. Of course, I'd go on a cruise with you. But okay, so Our Lady, she may be a widow, but she's still playing the field."
Still knocking them dead. Edna.
Yep. Still giving him a taste of your strudel. So that scene ends with an "aw" from the audience. You're like, wait a minute, why do we hear an audience? And we jump cut to an LA talk show called Wake Up with Dorothy. And it's a daily talk show hosted by Tootie Ramsey. It's Kim Fields. God, she's gorgeous in this.
She really is.
Exceptionally, like, I think rivaling Lisa Whelchel gorgeous. Oh my God. Her story is she has this successful LA talk show and she's about to go on this vacation. It's 7 days. She's going to be going up to Peekskill, New York, going to be hanging with her old girlfriends for Thanksgiving, and her contract is up for renewal. And she's trying to arrange somehow with the contract that she'd be able to be free to do a play that she really wants to do. And her producer's like, why do you want to do a play? We're television. We're more important than the theater. And while she's kind of arguing this point and they don't really come to a resolution, there's also a little girl chasing behind her. And finally, when the little girl says, hey, yo, would you sign this? You think it's a girl coming up to her for an autograph. And Tootie says, no, you don't, hey, yo, your mother. And it's like, oh, that's her daughter. This is Tisha. And Tisha has bad grades on her report card. Wah, wah.
You really didn't pick that up, that was her daughter following her around?
I did because I'd seen it before. I don't know what I thought in 2001. I was much younger and more naive then.
I don't know if Kim feels this fits because she had, consistently worked after the Facts of Life, doing other things, living single, other shows, that for me, she was the better actor in this whole movie. She was more natural. She was still funny. She could be in funny situations, but not play it, ham it up. She just was the right tone for the whole thing for me. And I remember thinking that when I first saw it, like, oh, Kim Fields has been practicing her craft. You know what I mean? You can tell she's not rusty,
This ain't season 5 Tootie shouting her lines like she's on a Disney Channel show. That's for damn sure.
I remember just thinking that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Kim Fields is especially good in this. So, yeah. So next we go to the Warner Park Hotel in New York City. Big private suite, staff and flowers and people flowing in and out of this gigantic hotel room. And Blair is at her dressing table and she's freaking out over having a gray hair. We meet her husband, Tad. And when she talks to him about the gray hair, he says, I can't wait to grow old with you. Aww. So he says he can't go to Peekskill with her after all. He was planning to, but now he has to stay in the city for business. And she says, well, that's why you married your attorney. I'll take care of it. And he says, no, I don't want you to miss any time with your friends. You go ahead. I'll join later. So that's all fine and dandy. Also in New York City, now with a hard rock music soundtrack, we find Natalie in a cab. Her cell phone rings. It says newsroom. And she answers it, and first words out of her mouth, lose my number. We don't hear the other side of the conversation, but we know that she says, I cut the piece to perfection. I'm done. I've been on the road for 5 months, and I'm going on this vacation now. Suck a bag of dicks and go fuck yourself. Click. I'm paraphrasing. But we later learn it's CNN that is the newsroom where she works. She is a successful field producer. And that's pretty awesome. So she's in the cab and she's starting to do some backseat driving. And the cab driver makes the mistake of turning to Natalie Green and saying, you think you can do any better? Cut to. The cab comes screeching and squealing up to the little inn at Peekskill. And out steps Natalie, who drove the cab, and the cab driver falls out. Like this journey, which we know was over an hour, somehow it has altered his DNA. And he says to her, you are a goddess. You have shown me a new light. And so she's like, well, whatever, here, let me pay the fare. And he says, no, let me pay you. And he gives her money and drives away. And what's the last thing she says?
Call that a tip? Something like that.
You call that a tip. Jewish Natalie, thank you. Keeping that spirit alive from the TV show.
Nobody had a problem with her taking a cab from New York City
to
Midtown to Peekskill.
Yeah, it's like couldn't take the train, couldn't have rented a car. You're totally right. Or, hello, Why couldn't she have carpooled with Blair in her limousine? Blair has a limousine and Blair lives in the city. So what the fuck, man? So this is a charming little inn that we learn is owned by Blair and her husband in Peekskill. And probably one of the biggest surprises of this movie is that we walk into the lobby and Raymond is behind the front desk. Raymond!
Yeah, how did that happen?
Mrs. Garrett's son, played by Joel Brooks, the same actor who played him on the TV show, Raymond, who was on 2 episodes, one in 1983 and one in 1984. That's it. Why? What? And okay, I'm tired of talking. Matthew, will you talk about what Raymond's through line is, like what his reason to be there is?
Well, I don't know about that, but I will say Raymond is still a creeper because if you remember, David, I was on the episode that Raymond was on.
Brave New World, season 5, episode 1.
Where he, like, remember I was saying, like, how uncomfortable it was to watch him touch his mother that way? Like, he was, like, and he's curling Natalie's hair. And I'm like, gross, dude.
I never thought about that till now, but you're right. He does do things like that. Yeah, the actor does. Yeah.
Stop doing that to her hair.
Oh my gosh.
I am sharing my screen now. I did a screen grab of Raymond tucking Natalie's hair behind her ear.
David, that's crazy that you had that available, but that is hilarious. Yeah.
And now from Brave New World, you see he's touching her face right here.
Yeah.
And then a little minute later, he's picking something off of her blouse. Matthew, get out of my fucking brain, because clearly this is a thing that Joel Brooks does. This has got to be him as an actor trying to physicalize affection. That's something that he does. He's like, well, touch their hair, touch their face, dote on them, groom them, as it were.
It's a sign of dominance.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Oh, wow. I look at it as a sign of affection. Creepy affection, but affection nonetheless.
Narcissists usually do.
Thank you. That's so sweet of you. I need to stop here. Why, Raymond? Thankfully, Show Bible Good, they say, what? No more accounting? He's like, nope, I'm the executive hotel manager. Well, there are problems at the hotel. There's a leaky pipe. There's other issues. And Raymond ends up being this through line of the poor put upon staff member. Whoa, I'm reading a plumbing book and I have a wrench in my hand. I don't know how to do fixie things. You could call somebody.
Yeah, I have that as a note later on, like when something happens. I'm like, what? Why is he call a plumber?
Call a fucking plumber.
Because she tells him money is no object to fix this pipe. And I was like, why is he going to fix it? If money's no object,
yeah,
call a plumber.
It's true. So I'm going to start right now with the notes that I want to send to the writers in the time machine. Why couldn't this have been Andy? Mackenzie Aston was 28 at the time, which means Andy would have been 28 at the time. He could say he still hadn't figured out what he wanted to do when he got out of high school. He was thinking of getting into hotel management. He could be working there part-time.
Why couldn't it have been Cloris Leachman?
Oh, fuck a duck. That would have been amazing.
It is Mrs. Garrett's sister.
Yeah.
And it is Thanksgiving.
You know, she would have done it too, because Cloris Leachman did anything for a paycheck. Very well, I might add, but she did, she's in everything.
Blair's like, I had to give her something to do.
You are a smarter writer than I. Way better. That would have been great. They didn't even have to change the lines. And I'm going to say it later in the show, when the French chef in the kitchen suddenly takes a liking to Mrs. Garrett, when they have that ridiculous scene of him chasing her through the lobby and her,
or the more ridiculous scene of her shaking her ass in the camera.
Yeah. Upsetting. But when they're running through the lobby, there is a cutaway to Joel who says, hey, that's my mother. And I literally thought, has he had any screen time with Charlotte Rae up until this point, which is like, an hour and 10 minutes into it? They do later have a little short scene, but part of me is like, what? So Joel works there. And so I guess when they do meet Mrs. Garrett at peak skill, Mrs. Garrett says, I stopped by the inn, but I knew I'd find you girls here. So I guess you assume that she and Joel exchanged pleasantries before that, but it's like Natalie asks him, what do you hear from your globe-trotting mother? So she's not around. Like, her being there and seeing Joel should be as important, if not more important, than her seeing the girls. And they have so little screen time to really reinforce that. Which then goes back to the original question. So why have this be Raymond at all? I don't get it.
He must have known someone. Maybe he knew, he's in the business a long time. Maybe he knew the
guess.
writer. Maybe the writer was the writer on My Sister Sam. You never know.
It's very possible. Yep.
He heard paycheck and
Yep.
what do you want me to do? Where do you want me to stand?
So as I said, show Bible good, at least they acknowledge that he is no longer an accountant, that is what he used to do. At least there's that. It's not just, hey, I work here now, and I always did. So while they're talking, we get Blair's entrance. God, it is perfect. Like, absolutely 100% perfect. It happens when Natalie says, wow, how weird that you work here now. And then you hear Blair say, if we're going to open a hotel, and then it cuts to her on the stairs descending. She says, we need to keep it all in the Eastland family. And while she says that, she descends the stairs, steps into a close-up, and a perfect diamond pendant. They add a little gling, a little glimmer, and a little sound effect that just perfectly punctuates, this is Blair fucking Warner.
Mm-hmm.
And I live for that shot. I am here for it. I forgive this movie so much of all the little nitpicky shit for that amazing shot, showing us that Lisa Whelchel has not aged. So this is where Blair says regarding the plumbing problem in room 18, ever since George left, we've been through 10 handymen, leaving us to seek their fame and fortune in Hollywood. It's so irritating. That's our little nod to George Clooney, who was at this point a pretty big star. Then we have Chef Gauguin. This angry chef comes into the lobby, into a public space, screaming at the top of his lungs about receiving coriander instead of cumin. And my first notes are, fuck this guy. What? I run a quality high-end French restaurant, but I come into the lobby and scream like a fucking asshole. It's like, no. Stop it.
His first scene should have been him quitting over that. And then Mrs. Garrett's entrance. Mrs. Garrett, thank God you're here. Oh, we need a chef and it's Thanksgiving weekend. And there's a food critic coming.
And I'll do you one better. He could say, oh, she could never make French food like I make French food.
Okay, we work out the details, but yeah.
And then she would say, oh, I studied at the Cordon Bleu. Didn't you see the other movie? So the one thing I have in my notes later is no allusion is made to the fact that Edna is a French chef. She studied cooking in France. It happened in another movie. But yeah, he is screaming in public because he's nervous. Blair says there's a restaurant critic coming. Of course, they're going to be incognito. It's going to be a secret disguise or something. So Blair is being patient with him. Finally, Tootie arrives with Tisha, her daughter. Natalie cries out, Tootie! And Tootie goes, you said you would try. And she's like, oh, I'm sorry. Dorothy!
No.
Yeah, it does suck. It's like, oh,
No.
Dorothy does not suit her. It never, ever did it?
And you're on TV. You're not going to use the name Tootie, for God's sake?
I get that Tootie is kind of immature.
Is it?
Yeah, I think so. I just don't like the name Dorothy. I'm like, who names their kid Dorothy in the 70s?
I would watch a TV show called Wake Up with Tootie.
Yeah.
I would not watch a show called Wake Up with Dorothy.
If the original writers had ever figured out why the fuck she's called Tootie, because the excuse that she talked a lot, that she was like a chatterbox, then call her Gabby. Why couldn't her name have... Anyway, they do make a running gag of trying to remember to call her Dorothy. And I don't blame them for having trouble with it. It really, really is hard. She really doesn't register as a Dorothy. Anyway, the big thing is, okay, we're all here, except Joe, but
She'll be here any minute now. Or whatever
any minute, yeah. But let's leave anyway. Have we seen the school yet? No, it's our last chance to see our Eastland. So off they go. We see a limo shot of them hanging out of Blair's limousine, and they play the 1980s version of the theme song with Gloria Loring singing it. It is glorious, isn't it?
If you can't have your clips, your flashback clips, you got to at least have the theme song with them on the sunroof of a limousine, you know?
It made my heart happy.
Dude,
That was fantastic.
I'm sharing my screen right now.
Oh,
I literally wrote, "My heart is happy." Matthew, get out of my brain.
David.
Uh-huh.
you guys are like the same person now. Like you share the same brain. You've been
We
doing
do.
all these shows for so long. You're just in sync.
Yeah, we've destroyed as many brain cells together. And then we get this exterior shot of the Eastland Academy gates, and it says established 1893.
I should show you my notes where it says David's going to have a problem with that date.
And why am I going to have a problem with that date?
God, it's wrong.
Why is it wrong though? Very recently.
I don't know. I couldn't remember, but I knew it was wrong.
In the beginning of the end, when Blair first buys Eastland in 1988, they talk about the 100-year legacy of Jeremiah Eastland.
Oh, yeah.
That was stated very late in the series, so it should have actually been established 1888. Just saying. Now, there's a sign that says the Eastland Academy Redevelopment Project. And the girls say they're so sad they're tearing it down. I think this TV movie thinks that Eastland Academy is one building. Did you get that sense? As opposed to a campus of multiple buildings, which we know it actually is?
No.
I just thought they were going to make Eastland into like a, strip mall with like Cheesecake Factory, Bed Bath and Beyond. It'll just be like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
That's what I assumed.
Like the Loop.
Like the Loop.
It'll just be Eastland.
The Loop.
Oh, God. Isn't the Loop a nightmare?
Oh,
I never go there. Never, 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 ever. This building, which houses the cafeteria, is being torn down for a bigger, better, shinier building to replace it. I took it to mean the school will go on. I mean, at the end, Tootie says, Tisha, why don't we move here and you can go to Eastland?
that's true.
So I didn't take it to mean that Eastland was going away. It's just this building. This was their last chance to see the building. This Thanksgiving and this reunion would be their last chance to be in the cafeteria.
Well, and she does say last chance to see our Eastland.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that's what's going on. But I still think this movie thinks it's one building, and it's not.
You put a lot of thought into that.
Oh, I ain't even begun to thought. So a show Bible good moment. As they're looking up at this sign, Blair says, if I hadn't sold it, they'd be naming the new building after me. Thank you. That's all they say. We don't know what, when, who, why, or how made Blair sell it to somebody else. But okay, no mention is made of whether Blair was successful at revitalizing Eastland or if she couldn't make it work and had to turn it over to somebody else. But hey, I'll take this. This is a little crumb and I'm happy to swallow it. So let's go to the cafeteria.
Talk about making a little gay heart happy. That made me happy.
Oh
my
God.
The way that they made the set and you could see it long ways, the different room. It made me happy.
That scene and that shot is amazing. They go up a flight of stairs and they walk into the cafeteria. It's a magnificent wide shot with the moving camera, and it sweeps around. It lets us look at the whole space 360 degrees while the girls are all going, oh, wow. And Tootie's saying, oh, I can't believe they moved the payphone as she's touching the column. They did a beautiful job recreating the cafeteria set. Like, yeah, that was a super happy heart moment. 100%. But there is a little problem we do need to discuss, boys. Do you know what it is?
Of course there is.
They go up a flight of stairs and walk in this side door that has never, ever been there before and does not exist in the TV show. And how many times in the TV show were they looking out the window at, you know, Miko trying to drive Joe's motorcycle and driving into the flower bed? Anytime someone pulls up or my ride is here, they would look out the window and they would look straight out. They weren't looking down. This cafeteria never was on a second or upper floor. That is a complete fabrication that's technically incorrect. But I gotta say, still, the recreation of this set and that they made the whole audience side, the fourth wall, we now see it's floor to ceiling windows. That was so fucking cool, wasn't it?
Yep.
Oh,
I want to go. Field trip.
I want to go to there. Yes.
There was the time that I was living in the city and we were driving at upstate New York to see some crazy house that was built by recycled materials. It was very cool. But we had to drive like 90 minutes and we passed Peekskill. And there was a sign that said exit here to Peekskill. And I mean, I just freaked out and wanted to beg my roommates to pull off, but we didn't because we were on a schedule. But couldn't believe I was so close and yet never got to see it. But one day we'll all go, the three of us.
Yeah, we will. That would be fun.
Say
And
we
then
did it.
we'll take a road trip out to Pomona College in Claremont, California, and we'll stand on the exterior outside set from season 1.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Y'all let me know how that goes.
Like, do you need anything from the Bed Bath and Beyond that it is now, Matthew?
Right, exactly.
I do have to point out another thing. It's like, oh, writers, you were trying so hard. I've got to give you props for trying, but this is a super fail. As they're going up the staircase, someone says, I wonder if we'll run into Mr. Parker. I wonder if we'll run into Mr. Parker. Mr. Parker hasn't been the headmaster since 1988 because Blair was the headmaster. And in 1988, Blair was replacing that other dude who was packing up his office and dropping shit on the floor.
Yeah,
So Mr. Parker has been out of the picture for quite some time.
They didn't say it like a joke, like ha, 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 he's dead or whatever.
Yes, she said it like a joke, David.
Like, you know.
It's like when I walk into my elementary school, I go, oh God, I expect Mr. Wambach to come around the corner.
Yeah. Well, okay, that would, I could see that, but still. So they say, I wonder if we'll run into Mr. Parker, and then says, I wonder if Roy is still pining for Joe. Roy, who was a delivery guy for the bakery, like he's not going to be here, do you think? But okay.
They were talking to the ghosts. They were talking to the ghosts of the room.
I guess so. But just trying to drop a couple of crumbs. Ooh, reference to Mr. Parker. Ooh, reference to Roy. Okay, writers, I see what you're doing. I thank you. But you might want to go back to the drawing board with those. So it is, yeah, the set I've just going on and on. Seeing them in this set again, and the fact that they had to awkwardly set up that Mrs. Garrett stopped at the inn, but somehow knew you'd all come up here. So Mrs. Garrett is there ahead of them. And we get the wonderful zoom in shot of her standing in the doorway to the kitchen. And this is the moment when finally all four of them hug and everyone is truly reunited. And it is a lovely goddamn moment.
Yes. Did anyone else have a problem with the writers still calling her Mrs. Garrett?
Dude, get out of my brain.
That could have been an ongoing thing between her and Dorothy.
Yeah. Tootie, Dorothy, Mrs. Garrett, Mrs. Gaines. Why haven't you called me Edna? They should have been calling her Edna back when they switched over our heads, really.
They could have been calling her, they should have settled it with, just call me Mrs. G.
Yeah, I was going to say, Mrs. G is just what they, just call her Mrs. G.
Oh, because it's Gaines. That's right. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Mrs. G. Oh, genius. G. Yes. You see what I did there? Uh-huh. So finally, the big question, where is Jo? Oh, I'm sure she'll be here. Swipe. Whoosh. Kind of a swing, hard cut, whoosh cut, I guess you could call it. To back in the inn, hard rock music, and this little biker walks in while the others are, did you notice what the others were doing?
No.
They were playing Monopoly. When I have a reunion with my girlfriends that I haven't seen in 5 years, we're breaking out that fucking Monopoly board. Shit's going to get crazy.
I can't play Monopoly with friends because then we're not friends at the end of the game. It's off. I'm like, can't believe you charged me rent. I'm broke,
I can't play Monopoly with friends because it's a horrible, miserable, long-ass game.
Not if you play it right.
Okay. Anyway, this little biker comes in a helmet, and Raymond is like, hey, you might need to wipe your feet, fella. And the helmet comes off, and a ponytail falls down. It's a girl. And she says, who you calling fella?
Enter one of the worst child actors ever. I don't understand why they went out of all the child actors and all of the casting directors off. I mean, what the fuck? Nothing bad. I don't want to, people to be offended. I'm saying this about a child, but I'm sorry that there could have been somebody else that was better than that actor.
I found her to be so inconsequential. I didn't even really notice her acting, whether it was good or bad.
It was just like not good. It was not good. It was just not good. It's not the whole thing.
The kids in this are the combined Pippa of the reunion show.
Yes, I could not agree more.
Superfluous. That first scene, you don't, hey, your mother. Now get in this car. I'm dropping you off at grandma's for the weekend.
Thank you.
And Jo, it could have been a phone call from Raymond. I just heard from Jo. She can't come. But my real question is, when Jo said no, don't do it. Why do it?
Yeah. And did they not, learn their lessons from season 1, too many people, towards the end of the series, too many people, and then let's just have a reunion movie with too many people,
Yeah. Too many people and no Jo. That is a problem. We now know in hindsight. I'm with you. It's like, why do it? And anyway, this whole thing of Rick shows up. It's not the same actor. It's not Scott Bryce as Rick, but he's like, oh, Jo's not coming. Couldn't have called. But hey, can I just dump off my kid and you all take care of her? Sure, no problem. So why can't she make it? Well, Jo and another cop from her division left last night to take a witness to testify on the West Coast in a mob trial. And Natalie says, oh, that's too bad. We haven't seen her in a lifetime.
Wow.
Nice little nods. Yeah. Nancy McKeon was filming The Division, which is her cop show that ran on Lifetime. And Jo becoming a cop, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I have big problems that to try and just make that into a joke. They could have made Jo anything, but to say, well, let's have it that Jo's a cop and this is a little Easter egg for people who know. It's like, to become a cop, all you need is a high school diploma. Many cops do have an associate's or a bachelor's or some type of a graduate degree in something, sometimes criminal justice. If Jo had majored in criminal justice, that would have been another thing. But to take Jo and make her into a cop when she went through all of that shit to be on scholarship at Langley, and then to end up doing social work, which already we were like, why did she need to go to a fancy frou-frou college for that? She couldn't have gone to just the local community college. So this just makes Jo a lot messier as far as a career and life path. But we are happy that she and Rick are still together and they have a little girl.
But I got to be honest with you, and I might sound like an idiot, but never until I never thought of Rick being the same Rick. You know what I mean? Like, it just hit me when you talked about it today.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe I'm a little dense, but I just didn't ever, because the guy was different. I would never, just how he's like, I'm going to go and I can't stay with you at Thanksgiving because I got to lay down some tracks with the Backstreet Boys or whatever he says. It's like, yeah, okay, just go. Like, we need to be in the room.
Why are you here? Yeah.
So I didn't even think of him as the Rick,
The Rickster.
Such an inconsequential character that if you can't get the original guy, don't write the part.
Right.
We didn't need a new Rick.
Nope. They probably could have gotten Alex Rocco if they just needed someone to drop her off. Why couldn't have Alex Rocco have done a cameo and say, well, I could spend the weekend with Grandpa, but I also want to spend the weekend with you. And
because why is that kid there? We don't need the kid.
Yeah, get rid of the kid too. That's another thing.
Definitely don't need the kid.
Yeah. But show Bible good, Rick is a musician still. And the reason why he has to dump his kid off on the others is he got an offer to play a few tracks on the next Backstreet Boys album. What?
Please don't go, girl.
And the very end of the scene, the final button, Mrs. Garrett looks at Jamie and says, who are the Backstairs Boys? Do they have a JPEG file? I'm sorry. JPEG file is killing me. Well, with this, when we go to the commercial, we are only 20 minutes into the movie right now, guys.
Jesus Christ, David.
But there was a lot to cover. There was. So this is going to be a great stopping point, I think. So what we're going to do is, we already warned you, you can see it in the title of the track. This is part one. This was going to be a two-parter. We do not do TV movies in one part around here. No, no, no. We do not give them short shrift. So we are going to stop here and tell you guys to tune in next week for the exciting conclusion of the Facts of Life reunion. Thank you, Paul, for being a part of this and for what you will be a part of next week. And until then, thank you for listening, and remember. Do you want to say it, Paul? Have you ever said it?
The facts of life are all about
you.
Oh.
There it is. There it is.
Let's Face the Facts was created, produced, written, hosted, and edited by the wonderful David Almeida. Our theme song was beautifully arranged and recorded by Ned Wilkinson. Please visit FaceTheFactsPod.com for supplemental photos and videos, links to social media, and ways that you can support the show. And don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. This is Matthew Arder saying tune in again next week for another thrilling episode of Let's Face the Facts.